I got a phone call last night from a friend. They were discussing Better Call Saul, and they're talking about our podcast. I don't think they actually listen. There's two guys talking about it. And basically, they were trying to credit us for giving the show the idea that Saul Goodman is like the pun on It's All Good Man. And I said, no. I said, I guarantee you Vince Gilligan wrote the name of the character based on that pun back in Breaking Bad. And they're trying to say that since they haven't done that whole reveal of why he changed his name to Saul Goodman, because It's All Good Man, that the name of our podcast might have been the inspiration for that. And I said, I'm very flattered, and I thank you for trying to give me that credit. But there's no way in hell the name of our show influenced the writers to explain why Saul Goodman chose that name.
Yeah, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take credit for it.
It's all good, man. Hey, it's all good, man. It's all good, man. Hey, it's all good.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is It's All Good Man, the Better Call Saul podcast. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is Miserable Dave. Miserable Dave, how you doing?
Too hot.
Too hot.
Too hot in the hot tub.
Awesome. Dave and I also host a Nothing Important podcast. You can find that at nothingimportantpodcast.com, where we talk to people more successful and famous than we will ever be. Also, you can find myself and our perennial third Mike, Jeff, on A Plummus Among Us, the Rickest Rick and Morty podcast. You can contact us about that show on Twitter at A Plummus Among Us. Thank you for turning off the fan, Dave.
You're welcome.
All right, it's going to get hot and steamy in here.
That's why I'm miserable.
Yeah, right on.
Heat wave. Middle of heat wave. But things are heating up on Better Call Saul.
Hey, nice segue. All right, we are talking about Better Call Saul, episode 308, titled
Slip.
Nice. All right, Dave, real quick, what did you think about this episode, Dave?
I liked it. I like there's a lot more multiple plot lines are coming to a head. You got to see a little bit of some action go down and setting up for more action.
Yeah.
I wish there was a little bit more with Mike, but I guess that's just setting up for the next episode.
Yeah, and it seemed to move by really quickly.
Yeah, it did. I remember we were having some buffering issues, and it was about halfway through. We were both kind of like, wow, we're halfway through the episode already.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's just because we watched it together. We don't usually do that.
Well, it was nice to hold your hand and just cuddle with you for a bit.
Yeah, it was nice. I like being the big spoon once in a while.
Indeed. All right, so we open up. To a scene. Obviously, it's some sort of storefront, and the locks are being busted off the door. And Jimmy and our boy Marco.
That's right, Mel Rodriguez.
Yeah,
who just looks like he's a super nice guy. Even on Better Call Saul, you just look at him and you're like, that guy's a nice guy.
Exactly. Friend of the show. He's been on our show before. We'll try to get him back on, see if we can chat with him again.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot of projects since we spoke to him last, and it's good to see him return.
Good. Yeah.
He was so nice the last time we talked to him.
So nice.
Such a cool dude. So, yeah.
Definitely not a butthole.
Definitely not a butthole. Jimmy and Marco are breaking into the old McGill gas station.
That's right. Looking for something.
Yeah, in the ceiling tile, which apparently is just a Band-Aid box full of coins.
Yeah, full of rare coins that are used in scams, which we saw in season 1.
Yeah, that's some pretty good foresight, I guess, for a young Jimmy McGill, is to recognize rare coins.
Well, I guess if you're a scam artist, you know.
Yeah.
You know how to make that scam.
Yep. And you mentioned that Marco used the term, he referred to somebody as a butthole. So it's good to see such an immature and benign insult make its way back.
Good callback, because we were a big fan of the butthole thing in the in the first.
Because it's so silly.
Yeah.
It's so silly and immature, but
yes.
it's funny. It's like childly funny.
Well, it's kind of like, when we get together, we get silly and immature. We're much more mature and responsible in our daily lives.
Yep. Jimmy talks about how his dad was such a nice guy. Like Jimmy kind of feels that his dad should have never opened the gas station because he was kind of an easy target.
Yeah, the what I got from all this was that he mistook his dad's kindness for weakness.
Mm-hmm.
He always felt that his dad was being taken advantage of,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of did things the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. And it's implied that's exactly what led to the downfall of the McGill gas station, right? Because he
Right.
was too nice. He was taking advantage, and over time, it just kind of took his financial toll. And
Which has been addressed before. I believe they've actually mentioned the same sentiment
mm-hmm.
previously. Yeah.
Yep. Jimmy says he kind of he believes his dad should have never opened the gas station to begin with. Kind of harsh,
Kind of.
but in Jimmy's world, that's probably what he really believes. One of the things that really stuck out to me was, again, Jimmy states that his dad was never going to do what he needed to do,
Right.
which is a callback to the previous episode where he tells Kim, like, we did what we have to do. So,
Right.
So Jimmy,
In Jimmy's world, what you need to do isn't the high road.
mm-hmm, that's his survival
Right.
instinct, I guess, is you got to do what you got to do. And Marco was kind of taken aback by that.
Yeah. Because Marco's a nice guy.
Like, he had that same like weird pause that Kim had
Yeah.
when Jimmy made a similar statement, right? Like,
Yeah,
it was
like that's kind of extreme, dude. You know?
yeah, like kind of like, what the fuck? Like, who is this guy, right? Like,
Right.
like to them, they might see it as like slightly out of character, even though he's obviously a less than honest and ethical individual that
Right.
just seems like such a hardcore.
It's like another
stance.
level.
Yeah. It's like eye-opening for the people that are closest to Jimmy
Right.
to hear him say that. It's like, wow, like what don't I know about this guy? Like, if that's his attitude.
Yeah. How deep does this rabbit hole go?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So they get what they need. They had a couple scares because the cops were driving by.
That's just Cicero.
Yeah, that's just Cicero. And they eventually leave right out the back door that they just broke into.
Well, I like how Marco, they kind of give Marco this sense of naivete, I
Mhm.
guess, because Jimmy's like, oh, there might be another one. And Marco was like, oh, really? Like,
Mhm.
kind of defers to Jimmy
Mhm.
all the time. And I would think that Marco would be wily enough to also think there might be more cops coming,
Mhm.
you know? So that's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, what I found most interesting was before they left for good, Jimmy went back and took the Band-Aid box.
Yeah.
Was the Band-Aid box, what we need to do is we need to go back to episode 1 when he opens his hidden box of keepsakes.
Ah.
And there's a bunch of stuff in there. I wonder if the Band-Aid box is in there.
Hmm.
I feel like it was.
Interesting.
I feel like I might have like referenced that or made some sort of joke about the contents of the box and how there was a random Band-Aid box.
I went over my head.
And Bob Odenkirk is on record saying that the contents of, I guess at that point, Gene's keepsake box are important. So maybe that's a good callback all the way to, a couple years ago. Season one.
Very nice. Very nice.
I bet somebody right now listening is like, yeah, dude, like it's there. Like, why are you even questioning this?
Because we forget things sometimes.
Mm-hmm. The opening is, of course, the classic Tarantula.
Tarantula.
Tarantula Doug
He's sleeping.
is sleeping. But had he not been sleeping, I'm sure he would have responded with, ha-ha! Tarantula Doug. Smash cut. We're at the old Oasis Motor Court sign.
I don't think that's a smash cut. That's a fade in.
Fade in, smash cut.
Star wipe.
Star wipe.
Star wipe to the old Oasis motor court sign.
And we kind of talked about that was where I believe wasn't Mike hiding behind that when he ripped off Tio Salamanca the first time?
We had talked about this before the scene played out, and then seeing how the scene played out, I think this is where he hijacked the truck.
Well, it has to be, right?
Yeah.
Because he exits his hoopty with a metal detector and a shovel. He kind of plants a stake, I guess for reference is probably what that's for, right? His starting point.
Right.
And then he'll just kind of like go out from that, like, like a radius from that point.
Right.
And he eventually finds a ring on a dead body, which has to be the driver that was killed the first time he stood up.
Not the driver. The Good Samaritan that helped the driver.
The Good Samaritan, yeah.
That's the guy that got murdered.
Right, yeah. So
Right.
that must be where his body was dumped, because then
Right.
he goes on to make a phone call.
It's pretty fortunate that the guy was married, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it was the ring that
Mike's attention
Set it
to
off.
detail, he must have noticed that.
No, he never saw the Good Samaritan.
Then why would he be out there with his metal. I guess maybe belt buckle,
Anything, yeah.
like a shot in the
if
dark.
you happen to have jewelry, belt buckle, I don't know if teeth fillings set off metal detectors.
Yeah, I wonder
change, loose change in your pocket.
I wonder if anybody out there could tell us or has an idea of how Mike would have known that he would have possessed, because not all metal is picked up by a metal detector.
Right.
So I wonder if it was totally luck, like a shot in the dark, and it just happened to pan out for him.
That is what he was looking for, right? Because I wasn't even sure at first if that's what he was looking for, but that has to be.
It has to be why
what
he's
he's
out
looking
there.
for. Yeah.
It's all part of his grander plan.
Right.
So maybe he was just kind of playing the odds on that one.
I think so.
And hoping to find because I'm not sure if a zipper would show up in a metal detector.
Yeah, I don't know.
But maybe a belt buckle,
rivets and jeans. I don't know. Maybe he just figured people have metal things on them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anybody out there has a theory on how he would know
to use a metal detector to find the body.
Yeah, or maybe it was just one of many tools that he assumed he could use to find it, and it just panned out for him.
Maybe.
What is it like? Opportunity is when preparation meet or luck.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, so maybe it's a case of that.
Yeah,
maybe it's a case of luck. Okay,
it's also a TV show.
Luck.
I mean, sometimes things just are written into the TV show just because they have to be.
We get a good scene with Chuck. He's visiting his doctor, and he's talking. He's documented his progress.
Yeah, it's very, very optimistic. Things are going very, very well.
Which is good to see Chuck not be miserable for once.
Yeah, I
right?
noticed that. We're like, oh, Michael McKean gets to kind of be happy for a second.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the only time we've even seen him remotely happy was in flashbacks.
With Rebecca, basically.
With Rebecca. So it was good to see. Because I was even thinking, he was so happy. For a minute there, I thought that might be another time jump or like another flashback.
No, I knew that was what was going on.
Like current time?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's starting to process all the emotions, and he's excited about moving. Remember the toast to new beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
He's holding true to that.
Yeah. And he says he's been, this ailment for 3 years.
Yeah, hasn't argued a case in 3 years.
Yeah. That's the first time we've heard how long he's been gone specifically, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I did, and he was also like very optimistic. He wants to have a dinner party with music and like 100 guests.
Right. Be surrounded by friends and be social again, and colleagues and all that.
Yeah.
And then
it's good for such a miserable character. It's good to see. It's like Mike last episode, like kind of a miserable character, but he met Anita and he was like smiling.
Yeah.
Pretty happy. So it's nice. Bring some levity to the character.
But that can't last long because then he gets a little reality check.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor's like,
in a weird way, Jimmy really did help him because he explains to the doctor, like, hey, I very publicly was exposed even to myself.
Right.
That my ailment is definitely mental.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it started when the doctor told him you should probably modulate your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting phrasing.
Mm-hmm.
But then his reaction was kind of like, oh, I don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of, stepping down a peg or two, then down a peg or two. And then I like that he finally admits it might be in his head.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, well, if that's true, what have I done?
Right.
Because he knows it's hurt HHM.
Mm-hmm.
He knows it's hurt clients.
A lot of introspection there.
Yeah. Coming to terms with things.
Introspection. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a point.
Okay, 4-letter word.
For use of
4-syllable word.
For use of the word introspection.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Pick up at ABQ in Tune. And apparently it's their busiest week in 6 months.
That's right. Business has picked up, so Jimmy is trying to negotiate some more commercial deals.
See, advertising works.
That's right.
Well, Jimmy isn't really trying to negotiate for more deals. He's just basically trying to get to abide by the deal.
The handshake agreement they had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they don't want any part of it.
No, they say haggle it.
They start doing the math in their head.
Right.
Right? Like, why can't we just re-air the
Right.
same commercial? And essentially what it boils down to is, why do we need you?
Right. Which, Jimmy's kind of right. It is his intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
It is his commercial.
Mm-hmm.
He is the production company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of shitty on their part.
And I love how they call them out. Like, your crew is pretty much just like community college students.
Right, yeah.
You don't even work for the TV station.
Right.
Yeah. He was quick to fire back, though. I never said I saw Goodman Productions.
Yeah.
I never said I worked for
Exactly.
a TV station. If they did their homework, because he's obviously trying to recoup some money or maybe even make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, we could just work with the station directly.
Right. And he called and found out how much it cost, you know.
Kind of dick move on their part.
I think it's kind of a dick move. You totally backed out of an agreement.
Yeah. Can't do that, man.
Yeah. Even when, like, Jimmy held up his end of the bargain, the store is doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah.
So Jimmy decides to take shit into his own hands.
Right.
Right. And he kind of creates
A scenario.
Yeah, there you go. Creates a scenario where he could slip on the drumstick.
While being filmed.
Yeah. By the way, good bump. Whoever the stunt guy was that does that, I hope that's Bob Odenkirk, but it's probably a stunt guy. That's a pretty good bump.
Yeah.
That guy took.
Pretty hefty fall.
Yeah.
Well,
I like to think Bob Odenkirk did that because last year Michael McKean did the stunt where he fell and hit his head off the counter, and they explained that they had some sort of cable that would pull his head back. But to make it work, he really had to throw himself towards the counter to make it work. Otherwise, it'd fuck up.
Right.
You know. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe Bob Odenkirk was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go for it, and slipped really hard on the drumstick.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, but he pulls the classic, slipping Jimmy like, like I'm hurt. And it was a smart move having the camera guy film. Nobody really knew what was going on. He's like, hey, just film me, stand back here, film.
Right.
And everything occurs. Gotta be, there's your leverage right there. It's all on film.
Right. Which I would think if that ever went to any kind of a trial, it'd be questionable. Like, why was the camera guy filming you at that point?
Yeah, but then it's easy to be like, because we were preparing to film.
Right.
And I went over there just to talk to them. And, we just happened to catch it on film.
I didn't hear cameras up. I didn't hear roll speed.
Kim's hanging out with Mesa Verde, Paige, and Mr. Verde.
Paige's dad. Paige's dad, Kevin. Over some Moscow mules.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, nice throwback.
Have you ever had a Moscow mule?
I had a different kind of a mule because it was not apparently in a copper container. I guess that's kind of like there's a series of mule type things. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Is the copper supposed to make it taste different? Is that what the deal is?
Yeah. The metal you drink out of affects the taste of.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
You ever drink orange juice out of an aluminum can?
No, you ever drink orange juice after you brush your teeth?
Exactly.
So bad.
Oh, it's the worst. But yeah, Kevin says he may have a new client for Kim. It's a driller that's having some issues with interstate legalities or whatever, and he uses the phrase, "I don't know whether to shit or wind my watch."
I don't know what that means, but I'm going to use that.
I don't know what that means. I've heard like shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know what that means. Shit or wind his watch.
I don't know.
He says that Gatwood doesn't know whether to shit or wind his watch. So weird.
Gotcha.
But
maybe it's just taking two extremes, like two totally unrelated things just to illustrate the confusion of the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
Wish in one hand or shit in the other, see which one fills up.
Yeah, probably
first.
similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Howard decides to horn in on the dinner, pulls a total power move. Kim, sit down. I insist. What a dick.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. What a fucking asshole.
Which we addressed in preview of the prior. He said this is the first time you really felt that Howard was being an actual dickish
Right.
person.
He's going out of his way to insert himself into a situation. It's totally, he's just trying to put himself in the heads of the Mesa Verde people. And he's also like trying to exude some sort of power.
Right.
By making her look like a chump.
Right.
They're totally unimpressed.
Right.
That's what I liked about it.
They're over. Yeah, they're completely over.
Like, they kind of see through it. Like, I know what you're trying to do.
You're trying to do damage control.
Yeah.
You're trying to get back into good graces. Your image is tarnished. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also makes it a point to call Kim his protege.
Right.
Like, hey, I created this.
And then I like how he mentions the doc review because that was totally like punishing her.
Right. Yeah. Like, because she's lower on the
right.
She started off at doc review, like, some peasant.
Yeah.
Right.
Like some bullshit intern.
Kim, I like the way she handled it. She kind of excuses herself as she goes, writes a note, heads right back to Howard's table and gives it right back.
Yeah.
He's
awesome.
kind of stunned. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
She's like, Howard, sit down. I insist. Like, so she like totally flips it on him.
Flips
right?
the script.
Yeah.
Uses his own power move back on him.
and hands him what I thought was a note, but we find out.
I knew it was a check.
Did you?
Yeah.
I saw that
It was a checkbook.
She opened up her checkbook, but for some reason, when I was looking at it, I thought it might have been like like an old carbon copy, like on top of the checkbook. And that was the only scrap of paper that she might have had to write him a note. For some reason, I usually have really good eyesight, and in my eyes, you know what I mean? Like I guess that's just how I interpret it. I mean, it was obviously.
No, I to pat myself on the back. No, I totally put together that it was a check, but the reason didn't become clear until Howard had to explain it.
Which really pisses Howard off.
Yeah. Well, then he turns in. This is what I thought was cool about the next part is that it's like the first episode where Jimmy walks in with a check, says, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah. Good
he
catch.
Totally. And he rips it up in front of her. Like it's the exact same interaction.
Oh, look at you. All
this has been going on this whole show. It's like
point for Dave.
Thank you. Thank you. All these parallelisms. They always, invoke somebody from the previous episode.
1-1. Point for Dave. Well done. Well done. Tyrantula Doug pointed out that Kim did not tip the valet.
No. She did not. Stiffed him on the bill.
Maybe it's just understood that it's complimentary. Maybe they have a sign that says free valet to patrons.
Maybe she was just too nervous about writing that huge check.
And I like how they
Which we didn't even explain or get into, but the check was to pay off.
Yeah, the check was to pay off for her schooling.
Right.
Yes. So
it must have been a pretty large check.
Yeah. It must have been a pretty goddamn decent amount. I like how they go back and forth, blaming each other for the situations that they're currently in.
Yeah, I really liked that interaction. They had a little bit of edge to them. There was a little bit of tension.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Howard's thing is, you made me look like an asshole.
Right.
It was kind of uncalled for.
Yeah.
Her point is, well, you guys have been assholes the whole time.
Right.
And since Jimmy is like my client, I protected my fucking client.
Right.
It's not my fault that you guys are. Basically, each one is saying it's not my fault that you guys are dicks.
Right. Well, and it's also like I have to do damage control for what you did. Well, I had to do what I do because what you did. You covered up for Chuck for all these years. That's your problem too.
Right.
Yeah. Throwing it back at each other.
Chicken or the egg, right?
Kind of airing out some dirty laundry a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good to see them like kind of butt heads, right?
Yeah, and get real
in a more informal.
Yeah.
In a more informal
setting.
Yep. Get to see Nacho.
Yeah, Nacho in the do-it-yourself chemistry set. Is that the Bill Nye?
Oh my God!
Nye
I was watching
set?
that the entire time, and like my knuckles were hurting because it was frustrating me so much. I would not have the patience.
Looks so tedious.
Oh my God! A couple of things I did notice about it. First off, I liked the scene because it was very intense for the menial task that was on screen. A couple things I noticed was those like the glass bowl he was putting, like the little dish. My parents had like 50 of those growing up. I actually think they come from some sort of butter or like Philadelphia cream cheese, like when people used to package stuff. My parents have a ton of those that we used to use as a kid, so it kind of made me smile a little bit. And then I like that he was storing the pills in a Tic Tac container.
Yeah, like a dual.
Yeah,
Tic Tac container.
Yeah, kind of made me chuckle.
Which I questioned at first. Yeah, I was like, why did he put them in a Tic Tac container? Why didn't he put them in a pill bottle?
Yeah, just easy carriage, I guess. We'll find out later.
That's right.
Then he puts a coat on the back of the chair, and he starts practicing what we thought was going to be sleight of hand, but he was practicing.
He's
tossing it in.
He's practicing his Steph Curry.
Steph Curry?
Yeah, his rainbow shot.
He's apparently there all night because his dad eventually comes in and he plays it off as he's just getting ahead on the invoices. And his dad's like super proud of him because he's like, well, it's nice to see you're taking an interest in the business.
Right.
Which
he is taking an interest in the business, but he's not going about it the way his dad thinks he is.
Right. It just kind of drives the point home like Nacho really has a reverence for his dad and a respect for his dad's business. And that's always going to come before his activities with the Salamancas.
Exactly.
So it really drives home, like, now it's do or die, because not only am I protecting my dad's business, but my dad is genuinely impressed by me, right? So it's like making the warm fuzzies even warm and fuzzier, which is just going to drive him be like, well,
which wasn't it. Well, I wouldn't even want to say warm and fuzzies because the look on his face was like, what does that look? Sadness or like depressing with
like bittersweet,
worried, concern. There you go. Concern. Look on his face is concern for his dad because he knows that if he doesn't do what he's about to do and succeed,
Mhm.
his dad's screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
mixed emotions going
lot
through
on the
Nacho's
line.
head. Yeah.
right, and it just kind of got ramped up.
Right.
Like the stakes just got way higher.
Right.
Nice to see Chuck at the grocery store.
Yeah, he's getting out in public again. He's probably looks like his he's probably at about a 5 right now.
Mm-hmm. I like how he kept using descriptors to keep himself in check.
Yeah, I was like, what is this, preschool?
Like he kept freaking out.
Blue car.
Yeah,
It's like a spin
exactly.
the wheel thing.
But it must be something that works for him because he was hesitant to
It's
go
a distraction. Yeah, you occupy your mind with something,
in.
and then it keeps you distracted. It's
And
like
it might be
it's like
something
when you have half a tooth in your mouth and you haven't had it pulled out yet, and you've lost sleep for the last 2 days. So you just think of things to distract your mind from it. Yeah.
Also, I was thinking too, it's something he knows for certain,
Right.
right? Because I still feel, especially with this conversation with the doctor, he's still on the fence,
Yeah.
even though it appears that it's mental. Because he even says, to me, it's very real,
Right.
right? So he has this uncertainty about it, but it's also bringing him back down where he's certain that woman's sweater was purple.
Right.
He's certain that beyond the door was a doormat.
Right.
You know,
With
so
so
as-
many things in question, he has to find
Right.
things.
So
that
as
he
his
didn't
mind
question.
starts to wander, there's an absolute, the bananas are yellow.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. It's like pulling him back. Like
Right.
as he starts to like wander, like he's pulling himself back.
Yeah. Very
And-
very cool.
I do have to say, big ups to the rotund extra that walked out as Chuck was trying to get in. You could just see on his face the whole time he's saying, "Don't look at the camera. Don't look at the camera." Like does an awkward, like walks out the door, looks left and right, then left and right, then left and right. Like it was you could just see he was being like, "Don't look at the camera. Don't look at
My guess is this isn't his first take, and he looked at the camera once.
Yeah. Chuck apparently plans on buying soy milk, and soys are not mammals. You cannot get. It's just like soys, plural,
Yes.
are not
Soy.
mammals,
I understand. So their milk would be of no benefit to us, apparently. But-
or their offspring.
Well, which is ironic because do you remember we used to have? I think it was actually Idlewild soy milk in our fridge in college.
Our fridge,
Yeah, our roommate was a health nut.
really?
Yeah, remember
Yeah.
our third or fourth roommates? He'd drink soy milk all the
Yeah.
time. So I tried it once. Gross.
Right. My wife is on this big almond milk kick.
I hear that's what my girlfriend drinks.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
Almonds also not mammals.
Not mammals, man.
Sit down if you haven't heard that before. I know that comes as a shock to a lot of people. Now, everybody just don't go crazy with what I'm telling you. I don't want this to get too political.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to get too political.
How does one milk an almond or milk a
Exactly.
soy anyway?
Exactly.
I mean, the teat on that thing has got to be microscopic.
Exactly. It drives me insane because my wife is like, "Oh, well, you should give the baby milk." So I give the baby milk. She's like, "No, the other milk." There's no other milk. Pretty much what there is pulverized almond that somebody like mixed with water. That's not fucking milk. That is not milk. By that idea, then like if you mixed a bunch of glue with water, that would be like glue milk. I guess that'd be horse milk,
Horse
right?
milk, yeah. Which is a mammal.
Yeah.
Look at
I
that.
guess you got me there. Oh.
I had goat cheese the other day at an event that I was working. It was like wrapped in bacon,
Mm-hmm.
and it still sucked.
Yeah. Goat cheese. That's another one. You know what aggravates me? If I could just have an aside here, we don't need goat cheese pizza.
No.
Like it really aggravates me. Love my wife dearly, but we'll go to a new pizza place, and when I think of pizza, I think like crust, tomato sauce, cheese, and like toppings.
Mm-hmm.
These weird pizzas everybody's coming out with, where it's like goat cheese with Alfredo sauce,
Ugh.
Brussels sprouts, and bacon
Ugh.
with jalapenos. Like, no, motherfucker, that is not a pizza.
No, that's not a pizza.
Right. That's just like bread with a bunch of weird shit on top of it. like Austin, you brought me round bread with a salad on top of it. That's pretty goddamn sweet. Like,
You know what I'd like to try?
Mm.
Camel cheese.
camel cheese.
Yeah, that's a mammal.
Sounds gross.
Camel milk. Camel cheese.
I would drink camel milk before I drink almond milk.
I would like to try it.
Yeah.
I think any milk's milk, right?
Not when it comes from an almond. All right, we're at Kim's office. Jimmy's rocking out.
Well, Kim's working on the Gatwood oil documents, so she got the client
Mhm.
that Kevin was talking about,
Yeah.
which is we thought that we kind of glossed over it. We didn't really pay attention to it, but it turns out that's kind of influential to the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She I I think her like I wonder if this is the beginning of her taking on more than she can handle, because remember, like Mesa Verde was supposed to be enough for her.
Right. And she even told Kevin when he's like, I have another client, and she was all like, I told you guys you would be my only priority, not even my first priority, my only priority. And he was giving her like, well, I think you can handle this.
Yeah.
You're a badass. You're Ken Wexler, you know.
Right.
And then so she does take on the client. And so I'm starting to wonder if maybe she isn't around later because she's blowing up and just becomes super successful.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Well, if she's getting a lot of big name clients, maybe later on down the road, she just can't handle Jimmy's shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She
She doesn't
want,
have time for it anymore.
because she sees it. She
Right.
sees what he does to people. You know, as evidence, her reactions last episode
Right.
to some of the things he was saying.
Yeah.
Right. She sees the writing on the wall.
Absolutely.
Right. So at some point, it would make sense. Maybe, who knows? But maybe she just has to make that decision. Like, you know, my life's work.
Maybe she has to shit or wind her watch.
I'll give you a point for that. 2 Dave, 1 Brian. 2 Dave, 1 Brian. Jimmy's laying on the floor because he apparently legitimately hurt himself.
Okay.
Playing the guitar. He legitimately hurt himself.
Here's where musician Dave comes in.
Okay, go.
Okay. He's playing Smoke on the Water, but he's not even close.
No?
No.
No?
And my first thought was like, you know, movies do this. Wayne's World. Okay. When he goes to play Stairway and gets shut down, he's not even close to actual Stairway. And I think the director even explained, like, he couldn't play the right notes because they couldn't afford for him to play Stairway. But they've already played Smoke on the Water on the show, so it wasn't like a licensing thing.
So they already paid for it.
Right. So I was thinking, like, maybe they didn't pay for it, so that's why he's not even close. And I was like, no, I think Jimmy just sucks at guitar. He's trying to play it by ear, and it's wrong. And it continues the entire scene. All the way through the end, he's playing that God. So my musical sensibility is not offended because I'm just like, no, that's not right. No, it's an inverted power chord for one, and he's way off. He's in the wrong key.
Should use a caper.
Capo.
Whatever. I don't play an
A
instrument.
caper. Now, Jimmy would go on a caper.
Yes, he would. I was a little confused about the status of the relationship because Jimmy was kind of a dick. Right? Because he's like, hey, you know, here's an envelope. That should cover you for 6 weeks. But he was like really short. He wasn't nice about it. Like, it wasn't like he was like,
I think he was trying to be matter of fact about it to get her to accept it and move on and not question him too much.
you think so? I don't know.
I
It
think he was
just
trying to
seemed
keep it
weird.
brief.
It just seemed weird that it wasn't like,
'Cause I didn't
Kim,
pick up
like-
on that. I didn't think he was being a dick.
See, I think he was kind of being a little bit of an asshole. Like,
No.
because he was just like, hey, you know, like he could have been like, hey, Kim, guess what? Yeah, awesome. Like, hey, look, I have like 6 weeks worth of pay. But he was just like, nope, here's 6 weeks.
I think he was just being matter of fact. He's in pain. He's trying to act. Is he really in pain or is he acting? I don't know.
I think he legitimately hurt himself by slipping on the.
You think so?
I think
He
he
made it
took
real.
the bump. He took the bump.
So
to
like
sell
when
it.
he said no ambulance, then trying to get up and said, yeah, you might want to call an ambulance. You think that was real?
maybe. I mean, I just think he. Haven't you ever done the thing where like you pantomime punching like a wall or something, and you mean to pull it back, but you accidentally punch the wall, like the big hole in the wall?
I don't know.
that's
There's
right
this hole right by my shoulder.
Okay,
Things
yeah.
I might have experienced the situation at some point.
I'm just saying, like, that probably wasn't his intent, but it seems to me that he really hurt himself. Kind of like, well, that bit me in the ass kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Or he just went all out and did hurt himself for the legitimacy of it.
Well, maybe, but
Yeah.
he's also not as young as he was when he was slipping Jimmy. So,
Right.
you know, time,
Also true. Yeah.
time takes its toll, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at the twins. They actually threw themselves onto moving cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're young and spry. They
Exactly.
can, you know, Kim shows that she's wife material, man, because she's like, dude, whatever you're doing, you kind of really don't have to work yourself like this.
Yeah.
I got your back. I can't do it long term,
And
but
that's why I think maybe some of the being short was playing that up. But he doesn't want her to be like that. He wants to hold his own. He wants to carry his weight. He doesn't want to put burdens on her because he knows that his grasp on her is very tenuous. So he has to, he's trying to keep her around.
And I think Jimmy like showed his cards.
Even especially when he said, like, you believe me, right? He didn't have to say that. She'd
Right, exactly.
She'd already swallowed the hook.
Yeah, we watched it together, remember? And I made a
Yeah.
weird noise, and my notes are bullshit. Why do you even say that? Why do you bring that up?
Because that's a classic movie thing. I
Like-
kind of like roll my eyes at it because that's one of those things where Yeah, he's showing his hand. Like, he didn't have to say that. It's actually a bad thing that he said that because
Right.
it makes him look guiltier.
Right. Like, he's trying to instill,
Right.
he's trying to, like, seal the deal, and he just keeps selling.
Right. When you're selling after you've already made the sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just shut up. It just seemed really unnatural.
Yes. I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. This next part I was kind of confused, though. Cancel the courier? She tells Brenda, cancel the courier. I gotta get Billy Gatwood on the phone.
Because, but then she talked to Billy Gatwood, and she mentions that she believes he can. She states that she was going to refer him to another attorney.
Right.
So the courier was going to take the papers to another attorney.
So something about her interaction with Jimmy makes her decide to keep the case.
I think she's trying to solidify her future at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, that's what I would take it as, is that it's kind of tenuous right now with him, because in my mind, he was a dick with the money. Right. He's obviously not being honest about the whole guitar thing. Like, because she's even like, well, how did you hurt yourself?
So maybe he had her, maybe that's what it was. He had her up until the point when he said, you believe me, right?
Right.
And then she goes, oh shit.
Yeah, he inadvertently.
You just tried too hard.
He inadvertently planted the seeds of doubt.
Right.
And then, her mind is going, and she's like, well, the best way to solidify my future is take on more clients. And
right.
That way, if things go wayside with him, I have something to fall back on. You know what I mean? She's by taking on more work, she isn't anchored as much to him.
Right. I just got confused because she had already been offering, like, said, I'm going to be good for a while. The way things are going, I can float us. And then after the interaction with him, then she decides to take on more work.
Right.
And she already thought without that work she could float him. But now she wants even more security.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
And it could work both ways. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to kind of, play too many mind games with it, you could say, well, she took on more because Jimmy's hurt, and she knows that she'll need the extra money to support them because he's hurt.
Right.
So he might not be able to work so much. But I don't think that's
another possible angle, though. That's possible. I don't want to rule that out.
It's possible, but I think her angle is this guy's not headed to a good place. And if he doesn't turn the ship around, it's going to crash into the iceberg.
Right.
So maybe a good way to ensure myself against that is to make sure that I have work.
Right.
To keep myself going when he goes under.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah. Howard and Chuck meet in front of Chuck's house. Howard seems genuinely happy for Chuck.
Yeah, I think. Well,
he's like, he got groceries.
This goes back to the whole, like, Howard's always deferring to Chuck. He's always looking out for Chuck. There's genuine care and concern there. He brought over the 35-year-old bottle of wine that they toasted to.
Wine. He really should have got him scotch.
And, so yeah, I think Howard's interaction with Chuck is always genuine. He's told Kim he's been doing damage control.
Yeah.
This whole time.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not just out of concern for HHM. I think it's both.
But it does come up. He needs to chat with Chuck about the malpractice insurance.
Yeah, I actually kind of liked that. It's a little tiny scene, but it's just to plant that in your brain because that's probably going to be a big deal.
Yep.
This may set Chuck back. I'm thinking that might be where because he's going so positive. He needs to come down a peg or two again. The doctor already took him down a peg or two.
Right.
But now it's like the ladder rungs are going to start busting on him.
Okay. Cut to Nacho scaling a wall. And it turns out it's the Winking Greek.
Climbing that dumpster.
Creates a freon leak. Punctures the freon tubes in the AC on the roof.
Why do you think he did that?
Air conditioner can't run without freon, man.
Why does he need to kill the air conditioner?
Because he's trying to. I assumed it was because he was going to stress Hector out.
To stress Hector out, so he might need to take his pills faster than he thought.
And yeah, I think so. I think it was to stress him out, and also, well, at first I kind of thought like, to keep people out of the restaurant, but obviously they're making the drops when people aren't in the restaurant because it'd be impossible to have a functioning restaurant.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think it had something to do with just making it as uncomfortable as possible for Hector.
But what about the fan slowing down? Then they showed a video of the ceiling fan not spinning.
No, I don't recall that. I just remember I thought the fan was spinning and it was just showing that the
Very
air conditioner.
slowly.
Yeah, that the air conditioner was out and it's miserable because the only airflow that they have is the slow moving fan.
Okay.
Like it's setting up that it's like hot and gross.
Yeah.
Especially with that guy in the background preparing food and shit.
Right.
Right? It's just hot and gross in there. And remember last time Hector was under stress, he flipped out and flipped the table and all that.
That's right. Yeah. So he's stressing him out.
So I think what he's doing is trying to hedge his bets, so to speak, like create the most intense environment he can to try to force a reaction.
Right. Yeah. I actually agree. I just wanted to quiz you.
Yep. Not just collecting money from Crazy 8.
What do we call him? He's not quite crazy 8 yet. He's more like mentally unstable 8.
Yeah.
Right.
Like socially anxious 8.
And he looks beat up.
Yeah.
He's still pretty marked up from the last interaction. So he obviously made sure all the money was there this time.
Got his ass whooped.
Yeah. And then he gives Hector gives him the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
You know.
Crazy 8 leaves. Nacho feigns finding a counterfeit bill.
This is where I dropped a reference you don't get because I was all $50 bill.
Yeah, I don't get it.
$50 bill.
What is that from?
That's from the Goonies, man. They find the machine that prints off fake $50 bills.
Sorry, I suck.
And Data starts getting all excited. $50 bill, and they think it's real, but they're all counterfeit 50s.
Sorry, never seen the Goonies.
Oh, you're a bad person.
What can I say? I suck. Never seen Star Wars. Never seen Lord of the Rings. Never seen Harry Potter.
I've seen some of those, but not all of them. Today was Star Wars Day, actually, downtown Joliet.
Oh.
It's the anniversary. This weekend's the anniversary of the release of the first one.
He shows it to Hector, and Hector's like, no, looks good to me, or whatever he says. I like how he drops the money, and Hector's just super crotchety, and it's just like, like rolls his eyes, like, fuck.
But the nervousness is genuine. Like, the money was planned, but we really noted the nervousness that Nacho was showing this entire scene. He's really out of his element.
Right.
For as much crime as he does, he's really out of his element.
Well, because it's literally do or die, though.
Yeah.
Because the stakes are so high, because if he fucks this up, not only could he because, like, he's in such a, like, fucks this up, gets killed, his dad now has to deal with his dead son.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
If the pills don't work, he now puts his dad's business in a bad position, right? So everything is riding on this.
Yeah, this is a mom spaghetti moment. One chance, one shot.
Grabs the pills, he puts them in his waistband, and at first it's like, why the fuck would you put them in the waistband instead of your pocket?
Right.
Like, that seems like a risky move that they could slide down and roll out of your pants.
Maybe it's for so it doesn't shake or something, because pills make noise.
Well, it's because easy access is what it turned out to be, because he goes, that other guy comes in, he tells him basically shut the fuck up, counts his money, tells him he's good, grabs the pills from the bag, and when he's switching the pills in his lap, instead of like doing this whole thing like you're grabbing your wallet out of your pants where you sit down,
much more sneaky.
In his wristband or his waistband. So that was pretty good. But at first I was like, why the waistband? That's a dumb move. But it turns out is actually a really smart move.
And this is what got me. I didn't think that they would go this route. I thought he would find like a comparable bottle. I didn't think about the fact that he would want to keep the bottle consistent. That's why he's using the 2 Tic Tac containers. Because he dumps them into the empty one, then he takes them out of the other one. But it just seems like it's a little more complicated than I would have thought. I would have switched bottles.
Yeah.
Instead of emptying the bottle, putting all pills in. Because now after whatever happens is going to happen, if Hector takes the pill, he's going to have to replace all the pills in the bottle again.
Right.
So that may be
what I would have done.
A little tricky.
What I would have done, and I wrote this down here, is I just would have put 1 pill in the bottle and then just waited it out. Why wouldn't that have worked?
That would have worked. But I think he feels a sense of urgency about this. I think it has to happen today.
Right. So he wants to guarantee that not only is he going to take 1, but perhaps multiple of these. And
but I think it's just to guarantee that the next pill he takes is going to be the one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he wants it done now.
All right, that's fair.
That's why he's so nervous, and that's why he's immediately doing it. And
that's fair. All right, cool. I guess I didn't think of that, but all right.
He's playing the short game on this one.
I don't know why your air conditioner just came back on. Okay, so if everybody that doesn't see what just happened, because obviously you don't, Dave has 1 remote in this room, and it's somehow
it's the TV remote.
It's the TV remote, and it somehow turned off an air conditioner that's obviously like 15 years old, and at the same time turned down the volume to his TV. And now I did not know remotes work like that.
No, okay. Let me explain this. It's obviously remotes run on radio frequencies, right?
Yeah.
So obviously the remote for this air conditioner has a few bands of frequencies that are similar to the remote for my television. It's the channel. It's the 9 button. The 9 button powers on and off the air conditioner. So if I hit 9 to turn off the air conditioner, it says to change my TV to channel 9, which I don't want to do. So I hit the volume button so it doesn't switch over to channel 9. See? As I'll show you. 9. It's going to change channel 9 unless I do that. No, it won't change channels. Because if I forget...
I'm going to go ahead and give you 4 points for that.
No, it changes to channel 9.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and give Dave 4 points for figuring out that the 9 button on his TV remote turns on and off the air conditioner from 15 years ago in his window.
Also, the volume down button makes it beep but doesn't do anything. There's also another button that changes modes. Oh, the power button for the TV changes the mode. Tell me when it's on the second one from the top.
There. I'm kind of really impressed right now. On a side note, how long did that take you to figure out?
It was just an accident back when we did have cable. I was going to channel 9 and it turned off the...
And it was like a no shit moment?
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit. But I've had this experience before where remotes, might cross over and work on something else. It's just radio frequencies.
Okay. All right.
That's how universal remotes work. Sometimes you're just cycling through radio frequencies until you pick the right one that works for your TV. Then you hit set.
All right. Impressive. Science. Nacho again walks by Hector. Back to what we were talking about. Nacho again walks by Hector and he makes the swish, man.
That's right. This is like Jordan at the end of the Utah game.
Yeah.
He's got one shot for the win.
Which, do you think he would have had to do that? I mean, I don't think he should have dropped the money again. But Hector seemed like he was pretty
preoccupied.
Because it's not like Nacho was all that inconspicuous when picking up the money and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you even said, what if the cook sees him?
Yeah.
Because there was a potential witness behind him. Maybe that's why he had to just kind of throw it. Like he didn't want to make any extra movements to draw attention to what he's doing because he might.
Right, because it might be like, why is he bent down again?
Right.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
The cook could be like, Hector, man, Nacho put something in your pocket. I don't trust that guy, whatever.
Nacho's a dick. Okay. All right, cool.
I like I made the note because, he's like, Hector, you want an espresso? So when he goes in the back to get in the espresso, he's super relieved, but he's only halfway there.
Yeah. Okay. Not bad.
Yeah.
Back to Jimmy picking up garbage.
Kid doing his community service.
Crazy hair dude wants to leave. The supervisor's kind of... you know what? Okay, I don't want to say he's taking a power trip because supervisor guy is just kind of doing his job.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be fair.
Right.
That wouldn't be fair to this completely fictional person that we're talking about to say that he was on a power trip.
No, but he's dealing with criminals. He's dealing with people that are constantly pulling things over on people, so he has to be assertive.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to let these people get away with anything.
Yeah, so I'd say that's a pretty realistic depiction of somebody in that position.
I think so. I don't think Jimmy's talk about is too realistic, though.
You don't think it's what?
When he convinces him to let him go?
Okay, well, let's get to that, right?
Yeah.
So Jimmy talks to the crazy hair dude and basically says, I can get you out of today's work and you'll get to keep all your hours.
Right.
Right. Pulling another scam.
Yeah, for $700.
For $700. How do you know that he had $2,000 in his sock?
Because he's Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's just astute.
Maybe it really wasn't $2,000. Maybe he just knew that the guy would have money in his sock. Maybe they get patted down or something.
I don't know. I think maybe it's just one of those things like he might have just seen it. He's that observant. He knows people. He's savvy.
Gotcha.
He's savvy enough to know.
Okay.
Because then he calls him a mug mealer.
Yeah, mug mealer. Which means that he's like smashes grain inside a coffee mug.
Smashes grain inside a coffee. Corn mealer.
Yeah, like a corn mealer, right? Mug mealer. Right.
I was trying to make an almond milk joke out of that. Like maybe he's trying to make some milk out of it.
He's trying to make some almond milk. Fucking almond milk. Okay, so Jimmy's big plan is pretty much to strong arm the supervisor.
Well, I don't say strong arm. That's a to threaten him.
Yeah, pretty much. He's going to use. It's like the classic when people say it's impossible to sue big corporations because they'll just draw out the lawsuit and basically take all your money and time when they still have the resources to keep going. And eventually, it's like attrition, right? Like eventually, you're out of men.
They'll just wear you out.
Yep, you're done. Like, see you later.
Exactly.
It's pretty much what he threatens them with.
Yeah, which I honestly, like, I'm not really a big fan of this. It's kind of tropey, and I don't know. The guy just kind of turns from like he's in charge to a sucker, and he starts to like believe him, and he starts to get all that like, oh really? You know, maybe this isn't such a good idea. I'll just represent myself. Oh, you talked me out of it. Okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that the guy would be like, call his bluff.
Yeah.
Say, well, make it happen.
Yeah, right? Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no,
you know how many times that guy's probably been threatened to be sued?
Right. Never, not once.
Because
these people are all being punished. You know, because even like the whole time, everybody else is like kind of mad at Jimmy for reading the contract all the way through, which turns out to be important. Maybe that was a big thing.
Yeah.
He actually read the whole agreement.
Yeah, because
then he says like, oh, I made an agreement with the city. I didn't make an agreement with you.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know?
Okay.
So, I mean, he definitely lawyers up and gets all legalese on him, but I still think it's kind of...
Or there might have been more resistance to it.
Yeah.
But it might have been one of those things where the guy was like, all right, he has a point, and he is a lawyer.
Right.
And,
maybe this guy should go see a sick kid.
Yeah, or fuck it.
Do you think he was really a sick kid? Or do you think maybe that guy is a member of the crew over on 5th that... Carlos was talking about when he paid off.
I don't know. That's awesome, though. That would be great if that came through.
Yeah,
I'll give you 3 points for that.
I give myself a point for that.
Dave's running away with this. Running away with it points wise. But all right, yeah, good idea. Okay, so he's part of the crew on 5th.
Right.
Which is the name of my new 80s alt-wave rock band, Crew on 5th.
Crew on 5th.
Crew on 5th. It's going to be pretty
It's my new barbershop quartet.
But with like synthesizers in our voice.
Actually, a rock band is better because when you play a power chord, it's actually called a 5th chord. So the Crew on 5th.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call. Nice.
I don't need a point for that one. I'm already winning.
Yeah, but Jimmy, hey, $700. I was also kind of hoping the criminal would stiff him.
Yeah. Like he didn't really have money in his... Well, the way he reacted, he knew he really had the money in his side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would have been cool if he would have stiffed him, just been like, all right, sucker, and just takes off.
Yeah, maybe it's that whole like... game recognized game, son.
That's right.
Honor among thieves and such.
He's just so relieved. Best $700 I ever spent. I don't know if a couple hours off of work is worth $700 and the best $700 I've ever spent.
Maybe it is if his kid's really sick.
It might be. That's what makes me think that maybe his kid really is sick.
You know, and if you have high volume and you're making a lot of money as a drug dealer, $700 might be worth it to you to pay some guy to get you out of community service so you can see your sick kid.
That's right.
A criminal.
And I must note the King Douche Nozzle quote because douche nozzle is one of my favorite insults.
Perhaps the crazy hair guy is a criminal with a heart of gold.
That's right. Maybe.
Touching. Touching.
Soft spot.
We're at the last scene. Mike is making a withdrawal at the floorboard bank. I did like how he had the vacuum sealed stacks of bills.
Right.
Because you want to keep them fresh.
That's right.
You don't want to fry.
Floorboards can get moldy, man. Crawl spaces are they're just the
You don't want closet rot.
Yeah.
Want to keep them fresh.
Maybe you ran out of mothballs.
Maybe he did.
Then he heads over to Los Pollos Hermanos to set up a retirement account with Gus.
Yeah. Talk about laundering money.
From the Bank of the Floorboard to the Gus IRA program. That's right. But yeah, I didn't even think about that. How he's got all this cash that his family can't see.
Yeah.
Because it's all traceable. It needs to be laundered.
Yeah. They come to some sort of agreement.
Yeah, and Mike's looking for a one-time arrangement. I don't think Mike's going to get that one-time arrangement.
Any idea what that might be?
No, actually, I don't. Not specifically.
Yeah, I guess that's something we'll probably see in one of the next two.
Yeah, I think that was the whole point. It's
setting up
vague.
there. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. At first, when they were talking about that, I thought maybe I had somehow missed a line there. like didn't hear a line as to what the agreement is, but yes.
No, it's vague because he says, I want a paper transaction. And then Gus says, well, I was thinking something with a little more difficulty. And then Mike says...
Well, they shake hands after that.
They shake hands. Oh, and then Mike says, well, like is the difficulty worth 20%, which is $40,000?
Mm-hmm.
And Gus says, well, I don't want to take money from your family, which I don't think that's really what he means. I think he really means I want you to work for me and work off that 20%.
Mm-hmm. And they shake hands.
And they shake hands.
Right.
Roll
so
credits.
I guess what confused me and why I thought I missed a line is because they shake hands.
Right.
Right. They went from talking vaguely to shaking hands. So
yeah,
I guess
that's definitely a TV thing because
Right.
you're not going to be like, hey, I'll give you something.
Yeah.
Let's shake on it,
Right. So yeah, or I guess the handshake is more so an agreement to work together than it is
Right.
regarding the specifics of the actual plan.
Right. Or they did do the specifics and it's just off camera and they just showed the handshake. But no, I think it's like we're in business. We're now in bed together.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
And that wraps episode 308. So next week should be really good, Dave. 309, the penultimate.
Yeah, I honestly think Hector's going to penultimate.
Penultimate.
I think Hector's going to take the pill.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see what Mike and Gus hands shook about.
Yeah.
I think that Jimmy and Kim are going to have a little interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Chuck's getting taken down a peg or two.
Well, it definitely has all the, the penultimate episode tends to be the crazy one for the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything is there. All
signs point to yes.
Yeah, everything is ready to explode. And then, of course, we'll have like the really slow 10th episode of the season. But only 2 more left.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Can't wait.
Craziness.
Cannot wait. I want to see how this all resolves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very, very into this show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still great.
Yep.
And
so
these plot lines are moving.
Yeah. So those of you out there, YouTubers, TV timers, Facebookers, Twitterers, make sure to let us know what you think is going to happen in episode 309. We're going to try, if we get a lot of good ones, we'll do like an extra long preview of the prior, especially now since we have listener correspondence jingle.
Right.
Made by Dave, Tom, Alex Hoffer, and his friends.
And Ellis Wright. I got to throw that in there. He played the saxophone on
And
it.
Alice Wright on the saxophone.
He's in my band. So
Produced at
Third City Sound.
Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois.
That's right.
We need like an endorsement bell, like ding. But yeah, man. So this should be the episode, right? Like everything. The clouds are swirling, right? The tornado's about to hit. So I know there are a lot of you out there listening. So I expect a lot of theories and ideas for this week's preview with the prior. That is your homework assignment. Is I want everyone out there to send us something via Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That'd be great. I know it'd be a lot to sift through, but I will be more than happy to sift through.
And I'll try and interact because I've been checking Twitter a lot lately and not seeing a whole lot of interaction.
Well, we kind of had like a slow week.
Yeah.
But
holiday week
for us here in the U.S.
But now summer is unofficially kicked off.
Yeah. Yep.
And and then we have 2 weeks left.
Yep. 2 more episodes. So let's make it a good 2 weeks together. We got this, guys. We're almost through another season. Pretty sure it's probably going to be picked up for season 4.
And we'll make you a deal. If you guys interact with us for the next 2 weeks, we'll get some more interviews for you in the off season.
That's up. Yep. That's definitely a deal we could definitely make. Also, please make sure to give us some of those rankings on iTunes. Give us those 5-star reviews. Share with your friend. Be a buddy. Subscribe to our Nothing Important podcast. We're going to probably ramp up another bunch of weeks of really kick-ass episodes. We've kind of had every year we get so busy that it kind of like slows down a little bit on the Nothing Important side because we're so busy with the Saul Goodman and preview with the prior.
And then that motivates us to kind of step up our game when we finally do get back into Nothing Important, get into the groove, and we have some more ideas.
Right. We started the year super goddamn strong with a bunch of really kick-ass interviews. Rick Astley, Michael McKean, Mike Rowe. I have a list. All this week I'm going to be reaching out to people's agents. people's publicists and get a lot of really kick-ass and interesting people on Nothing Important. So please make sure that you subscribe to that and make sure you share that with your friends as well. Also, I have it on pretty good authority, even though it's probably all over the internet, but I haven't checked. But I have it on pretty good authority that season 3 of Rick and Morty is going to start in July. So that's not too far away. I have contacts with some people that are related to the show, and they're kind of pointing towards that. Again, if it's all over the internet, I don't feel so special, but I'm just letting you know. So, Rick and Morty, an awesome show. Support us by checking out that show. It's called A Plummus Among Us. It's available, Stitcher, Podcast Detroit.
Everywhere.
TV Time. Anywhere we put any of our podcasts, it's available. It's our new project. It's doing well. And we need your guys' help out there. I know there's got to be at least a few hundred of you guys out there who watch Rick and Morty that also watch Better Call Saul. Please subscribe to that. Please give us reviews on that. It actually helps us out more than you'll know. Make sure to keep commenting. Make sure to keep watching with us. And make sure to keep being awesome. And again, on a sad note, we kind of touched on this during the preview of the Pride with No episode appears again. There's been some trouble in London tonight, and just stay safe out there. And we'll talk to you next week. Dave?
Call us idiots, call us geniuses, whatever it's called.
It's all good, man. It's all good, man. Hey, it's all good, man. It's all